person. Michael Miller knows all about the law, but he wasn't quite sure what to expect from a chimp that walks upright.
I'm waiting for him to come in the room. I'm actually nervous. And then I said, can we see Oliver? And they took me out into the barn. I sat down in a chair just like I am now. And Mr. Berger went into the other room, came back, and there was Oliver on a tether. And I was blown away. I don't even know I don't have words to describe how I felt.
At that first meeting, Michael Miller took these pictures. What he saw that day convinced him to buy Oliver there and then. But he had competition.
I was in the process of purchasing him, and someone outbid me, a lawyer from New York City who had other ideas for him, outbid me by $6,000. And even though the Bergers and I were very close, I couldn't come up with the money at that time, and they sold him to Michael Miller. I was heartbroken, absolutely, personally heartbroken.
It would be 20 years before their paths would cross again, but Vincent Pace would eventually come to play a crucial role in Oliver's life. Michael Miller bought Oliver for $8,000. He knew nothing about keeping chimps, so he asked Oliver's previous owner, Frank Berger, to look after him. After all, he couldn't take him home to Manhattan. What would the neighbors say?
Well, they thought I was crazy. I mean, everybody I knew thought I was crazy. They hadn't seen them. And so I just said, I just bought this ape. It's the strangest thing I ever saw. I walked upright, and that's nice.
But Manhattan attorney owns Bigfoot was not a story he was going to be able to keep to himself for long. Soon a journalist sensing a scoop came knocking at his door.
And he said, look, I want the exclusive story and I want a photograph, or I'm going to put it out on the UPI wire, and you're going to have everybody in the world coming to your door.
Michael Miller thought he was bluffing. By the next morning, he was forced to change his mind.
I got to my office. I couldn't get into the building. I literally couldn't get into the building. I said, what's it about? And they said, there's an attorney who has Bigfoot. And I could feel my heart go down into my knees. I was really scared.
The media roller coaster was off and running. Soon headlines were asking the question, is he a Bigfoot, or has science created a Frankenstein monster? Oliver, we know, came from the wild. And back in the mid-70s, biotechnology was in its infancy. However, in just 2 decades, cloning and animal hybridization would become a reality. Predicting controversial scientific breakthroughs is the job of Dr. Patrick Dixon. From a high-tech laboratory in London, he advises companies on what's going to happen in the future.
I met a scientist in the 1980s in the UK who claimed even then that he was attempting to clone human embryos to implant them into monkeys, using them as surrogates, in order to grow the fetus to a point where he could cull it for spare parts. That was many years ago, over 15 years ago. He has yet to go public on the work that he did.
As if surrogate chimps giving birth to humans wasn't disturbing enough, could it be possible that chimps have given birth to human-chimp hybrids?
It is absolutely inevitable that some scientist somewhere sometime will make a hybrid of a monkey and a human. It may already have happened.
American newspaper reports tell of an experiment in China to fertilize a chimpanzee with human sperm as far back as 1967. It's alleged the chimp was 3 months pregnant when Cultural Revolutionary rioters smashed up the laboratory, and it's said the pregnant chimp died of neglect. However, China isn't the only country where such experiments are alleged to have taken place. According to psychology professor Gordon Gallup, it also happened in the United States. Only this time, a live baby was the result.
Well, there's this rumor, a long-standing rumor, that back in the 1920s at the original Yerkes Primate Center in Orange Park, Florida, there was an attempt to artificially inseminate a female chimpanzee with human semen from an obviously undisclosed donor. And according to the rumor, not only did conception occur, but the pregnancy went full term, and it gave rise to a live birth. And within several days after the birth of this infant, the decision was made to euthanize the baby and not go public with the results. I had a former professor who was at the Yerkes Primate Center at that time, and he confided in me that in fact it did happen. That doesn't make it true, but he was a very credible source.
Professor Gallup won't name this source, and the Yerkes Institute deny it happened. But for such stories to circulate, it highlights our strange preoccupation with the idea of creating a humanzee, a creature that is part human, part chimpanzee.
When I first saw Oliver's picture back in 1976, I thought Oliver might be a humanzee. Some of his facial characteristics were peculiarly like those of a human. And I attempted to follow up on the Oliver story and have done so ever since.
So what might a cross between a human and a chimp look like? The appearance of other hybrids, such as the liger, suggests the offspring would inherit features common to both parents, as this artist's impression shows. However, the answer is we won't know for sure until such a creature is confirmed. It's these disturbingly human features that were to capture the world's attention and catapult Oliver to celebrity status.